Hello everyone, it is week 3 in our CSA shares. I'm Stephanie, if you haven't watched me before, your CSA coach, and I am going to go over what we received in our shares this week, how to store each item, and then ideas on what to use them for. We're gonna jump right into what we got in our shares, and there's quite a bit this week. So lots of greens. We have our romaine head lettuce. So that we're gonna store in the fridge in a plastic bag. I love using the Debbie Meyer green bags or a Ziploc bag. I do reuse them each week. So each week after I get done using whatever produce is inside of them, I rinse them out, dry them, and use them again. So I'm not wasting the plastic. Head lettuce is really good for sandwiches, burgers. You can even use the leaves, for like a wrap because they're pretty hardy. Chop it up, use it in tacos, or just make a salad with it. So that's our romaine that gets stored in the fridge. Now the difference, so I'm gonna compare, that's our romaine. We did get escarole this week, so this is the escarole. So they look very similar. The escarole is huge and the bottoms look like that versus the romaine looks like that. So it's got whiter and it's bunchier. So our escarole can be eaten raw or cooked. It tends to be a little bit bitter, so you can blanch it to take out some of that bitterness, or if you're gonna eat it raw, pair it with something sweet like an apple or a pear, or even our berries. Put like a sweeter honey vinaigrette on it so that it breaks down that, or cuts that bitterness. The outer leaves will be more bitter than the inner area. You can also cook this. It pairs really well with like beans. It goes really well in soups. So we're gonna store this the same way we do the lettuce, in a Ziploc bag or in a plastic bag. Obviously this one will have to be bigger because it's a lot bigger of a head. And that's our escarole, which is new this week. We have kale, which we've had for a few weeks. Kale gets stored the same way, in a bag, in the fridge, and all of this preferably gets stored unwashed. We don't want to wash it until we're ready to use it, just because that doesn't, once we wash it, it doesn't last as long. If you're going to use it within a day or two, then it's fine to wash. Kale is really good for, you can saute it just with onions or garlic as a side. We can puree it and make green cubes, which are great for smoothies. We can use it fresh in smoothies. Kale and like a kale strawberry smoothie would be delicious. There's a recipe on the blog for kale pesto. There's also a kale Caesar salad. And there's also kale chips. So lots of, there's probably other ones too, but those 3 pop in my head when speaking of kale. I'm gonna make a big batch of green cubes this week, just so that we have them for smoothies and things like that, and I can preserve because I still have kale left over from last week. So this gets stored in a plastic bag just like the lettuce and the escarole. So we do have salad greens. Salad greens come in a plastic bag. This is how I leave them. They are already rinsed off. I do rinse them again once I'm ready to use them. But we want to keep them dry, so it's good to put some paper towels or some, I know some people posted about like linen towels that they use to keep this dry. This is one of the first items that we want to use this week. So this won't last as long as our head lettuce or the escarole or the kale. We want to use this within the first couple of days, ideally. So I generally throw together a salad either tonight or tomorrow night and then use this up for that, and it's great for salads. We also have bok choy again. So bok choy is delicious in stir fries or sautés. You can blanch it as well, but I love to put it with like an onion, some garlic, and then over rice or some type of grain. For bok choy, we're storing it the same way, in a plastic bag in the fridge. When you go to cook it, Your green leaves are going to cook at a different time than the stalk. Everything is edible, but we want to take that, we want to separate the leaf and the stalk, put all the stalks chopped up in one bowl or one container, and put the greens, the leaves, chopped up in another container. The stalks take longer, so we put them in first, we saute those, cook those down, and then throw the leaves in, and they only take a little bit of time. So 2 different timelines for cooking because of the thickness of them. So that's bok choy, really good. And there's also a bunch of recipes. I know it's been talked about a couple different times on the Facebook group, and there's also recipes on the blog for bok choy. So we do have herbs this week. We have our parsley again. Parsley, so I already took, it was rubber banded together. So I took the rubber band off and threw it in a glass of water, and this is how it's gonna go in the fridge. Parsley is great for garnishes. It's actually really good in smoothies. It has detox properties, so it's really good to throw a little bit in smoothies. So I think when I make my green cubes this week for my smoothies with my kale, I'm gonna throw some parsley in it as well. You can dehydrate this to preserve it. You can also freeze it to preserve it. And then what else? It's really good on salads. You can throw it in salad dressings and blend it up. You can garnish pasta dishes and stews and sauces. So lots of ways to use it. There's a lot of it. So if you still have some from last week or the week before, I think we had it the week before, focus on using that first, preserve it, and then move to the fresher batch. So that's our parsley. I'm running out of room behind me. The other herb we got was basil, and it looks kind of floppy only because I took off the rubber band. Basil gets stored similarly to parsley, so in the glass with water, except this gets stored on the counter. So parsley is stored in the fridge, basil on the counter. Basil does not like to be cold. Basil is fantastic for pestos. It's wonderful in dressings, salad dressings. The recipe this week is gonna showcase basil along with the strawberries, since we're probably at the tail end of our strawberries. They pair really well together. There is an ice pop, a strawberry basil ice pop on the blog that you could make. But basil is really, really good in pestos and like a caprese salad, tomato mozzarella. What else? I like to just chop it up and throw it into different salads just as a garnish, and it smells amazing. So that's our basil on the counter for this one. Do not put it in the fridge. We have scallions this week. So scallions are like a milder onion. We can use it as garnishes. The entire thing is edible. You can dehydrate these actually. So if we have a lot, this is a big bunch and it's really tall, you can take them and chop them up and dehydrate them and then save that. It's another way to preserve our scallions. But they have a mild onion flavor. So whatever you would use onions for, just use more of these or know that it'll be slightly milder. These are large, so they're much larger than the scallions you would get in the grocery store. So we're gonna store these in a plastic bag or in a jar of water in the fridge. I'm gonna store these in a bag just because they're gonna get knocked over if I put them in a glass jar. You can chop off the top to make them shorter and use those initially and then save the bottom part. Just an idea. So those are our scallions. And then we also got green garlic. Green garlic we've been getting for a few weeks. A milder garlic flavor. The entire thing is edible. If you want to chop off some of the tops initially, these, I've been chopping them off and preserving them by freezing them just so that I can throw them in my veggie broth when I get a couple bags of veggie scraps. Green garlic is really good in dressings. It's really good grilled. It's good roasted. There's a couple different recipes that green garlic is used in the blog. So head to that and just Google green garlic. That'll give you ideas. And I think I'm going to use my green garlic this week in a pesto along with the basil to try to use that up. So that's green garlic, stored similarly. So I can't remember if I mentioned that, in a plastic bag in the fridge. Because it's so long, it doesn't fit in my fridge. So I chop off the tops, preserve that, and then the rest goes in the bag. We did get to pick strawberries. So our strawberries get stored in the fridge. These we're gonna wanna eat within the next few days or preserve them. You can store them just like this in a plastic container, but if you do that, I do recommend putting paper towels or something to absorb the moisture in the bottom, or put it in a colander so that the moisture can leave and not sit, because if the moisture stays, it'll make your berries rot quicker. These are great just eating as is. They're great on salads. This week's recipe will showcase these. We also received hothouse cucumbers. So this is the first for our farmers. Cucumbers coming earlier because they are growing them in the hothouse. And there was a video that Tom posted all about that. So yay to these. They get stored in the fridge, either in the crisper drawer or throw them in a Ziploc bag. They're great just peels and eating them as a snack. You can scoop out the seeds and do like a tuna salad, or make rounds and put tuna salad, egg salad, or like a chicken salad on top, make little bites. There is a cucumber salad on the blog. You could just slice up a couple slices of it and throw it in your water to make a refreshing water beverage as well. So those get stored in the fridge. Okay, last item, I think, are either our hakurei, I don't know if I'm saying that right, turnips, or our radishes. So you got one or the other. They're both stored similarly. So what we want to do initially is take off the greens. Do not leave the greens on the bulbs. Take those off and store them separately. Any of our greens can be sauteed just like you would kale or Swiss chard. You just don't want to leave them on the bulbs. So remove those and store them separately in the fridge in a Ziploc bag or in a Debbie Meyer green bag. Now our bulbs, same, once we remove them, they get stored in a Ziploc bag or a Debbie Meyer green bag in the fridge. Radishes are really good pickled. There's a quick pickle recipe on the blog. That's what I plan on doing these. They're also really yummy roasted. You can grill them. You can just chop them up and they add a little spice to salads. So those are radishes. Turnips, these are a milder turnip. They're really good. So I like to eat these raw. They can be roasted. They're just really good raw. So I clean them up, scrub them down, and then slice them really thin and throw them onto my salad, just as a fun treat. So that's turnips and radishes. So again, focus for right now is get your items stored properly so that they last. Go back and navigate what's in your fridge or on your countertop from last week or the week before. Use all of that up first. Look at the blog, look at our Facebook group for ideas. Use that up. If you're struggling, focus on preserving. How can I freeze it? How can I dehydrate it? How can I can it so that I save it for when the CSA or when that stuff isn't available anymore. And then we're gonna focus on the salad greens, probably the salad greens and our strawberries first, as far as this week, and then work through everything else. As you make stuff, please share and take pictures, post recipes that you're using, and I will see you all next week.